Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lonely Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Ariane, and today we've got a lot to talk about. But I'm going to be warning you that we're going to talk a lot about my undying love for autumn and all things autumn. So if those kind of subjects are not your jam, just letting you know, just giving you a heads up. But we're also going to be talking about some other things too, so definitely stick around if you want to listen to what those other things are. I've been very happy to make this podcast. It has really helped me in meeting some incredible people that you might have already heard from the past episodes, and I never thought that the changes I would be experiencing from creating a podcast would happen so fast. But I have been experiencing a lot of changes, and specifically I have been meeting a lot of incredible people, and that is a change in my life because I'm usually, like I've told you before, a very lonely person, and I do thrive in being alone for the most part. But it's so nice to meet people with similar interests, and also not only that, but such kind, interesting, creative people that I've met through the podcast. I've been very happy to be exposed to that and just grateful for the opportunities that I've had to talk to the amazing people I've talked to. And I'm very excited for more interviews to come, for you guys to learn about more artists that need more recognition, and just for this project to keep growing as it has been. Even though it hasn't been like a huge growth and just amazing numbers in that sense, it has been a growth personally for me. That sounded weird. I guess I've been growing personally from this experience, that's what I'm trying to say. And I've been very happy to experience that, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the interviews and also meeting those people too. We're sort of experiencing the same thing in the sense that we're all meeting new people with this podcast and learning about them and learning about their passions. And for me, I'm very happy to talk to other people because I feel weird creating content just talking about myself all the time. It feels a little bit narcissistic, and it's also, in my opinion, probably not as interesting as meeting several people, talking to several people and learning about their lives and their art, their craft, all that jazz. I think this podcast wouldn't be as entertaining or fun to make if I was only talking in every single episode. And I do have a lot of things to say. I love to communicate my thoughts, and I do have a lot of positive things I want to share, but it is much better when I can get to share this with other people. I guess I just repeated myself in different ways several times for all of these first minutes of the podcast, but we'll have to just get through it together, guys, because it's almost 7 in the morning while I'm recording this, and my brain is just starting to wake up. You might be asking, hey, but why do you record so early in the morning? Well, that's because where I'm from in Mexico, it's very hard to find places where everything's quiet all the time. There are vendors in the street, there are dogs in people's houses that are barking all the time. There are many kids just running around and screaming, and with kids you never know if they're screaming because they're happy or if they're screaming because they're being exercised. But it's just a lot of outside noise that I don't want the podcast to have, and the only time people seem to be peaceful and quiet in Mexico is in the mornings. So that's why I'm recording so early in the morning, and I will try to get my thoughts straight for this whole podcast. But if things don't make sense or if I repeat myself, now you know why. But let's talk about the subject that I'm very excited to talk to you about. different. We all experience it every year. It's pretty different for everybody, depending on where you live. But autumn is my favorite season of the year. It's just so pleasing. It's like just so soothing and the best time of the year for me. You see, it's starting to not be as hot as when it's summer, and you can actually enjoy being outside and having the sun kiss you without feeling like you're burning inside. But it's also a little bit chilly, and you get to wear amazing clothes and enjoy the weather without freezing to death, which is very nice. It's like that amazing moment in the year where the climate is just perfect and everybody's seeming to start to slow down, but not so much that everything just feels dead or in hibernation. Everybody is drinking pumpkin spice stuff, which is funny because I guess I'm just romanticizing that part. I've never really had any drink that has pumpkin spice. I've heard that it's not as good, and it's also really sweet, and I'm not into extremely sweet beverages. But I do like cider. I love hot cider with cinnamon. That is one of the best things about this time of the year. And don't get me started with nature. Have you guys seen nature when it's autumn? It's so gorgeous and colorful, and the colors are warm, and I feel so inspired by the changes of nature and how the trees are shedding their leaves and the crackling of the leaves in the ground and the different shades and gradients of color in them. And it seems like I focus a lot on leaves, but it's true, it's just really cool. And I guess I like to appreciate those little things. It's like watching a painting unfold in front of my eyes when it's autumn. And I do romanticize this romanticize this a lot. And that is probably because for most of my life I've lived in the Caribbean, and for those of you who don't know, the Caribbean doesn't really go through many changes in the season. It goes from being extremely hot to just being somewhat hot, and then to extremely hot again. And the trees and the plants don't really change much. The colors outside don't change. People don't drink hot beverages because it's already really hot. So when I moved to Canada almost 3 years ago now, it was fascinating for me to watch everything just change, for me to watch the seasons and all the evolution, well, not evolution, but like the cycles of the weather and the plants and the people too. With the seasons, we also change a lot, and our moods change, our clothes change, like I said, what we eat changes. I think that's pretty fascinating. But mostly what this has to do with art, and I promise I'll get there, is just, it's a very inspiring season. Visually it's very inspiring. In the senses it's really inspiring too. The smells, the tastes. And I guess you could say the same thing for any other season too. But this one's the one that's special for me. This one's the one that touches my heart. And it's just the most enjoyable one. I have another podcast. It's like an ASMR podcast, and it's in Spanish, but I mentioned in that podcast, because I also spoke about autumn there, that my favorite time of the day is twilight, or just right after the sun sets. Everything is blue, but you can still see everything outside. You can still see everyone and the shapes and nature and all that. Everything has this like unsaturated hue of blue, and it's just like this moment of the day where everything is slowed down, and it feels like you're in a dream. This is my experience, of course. You might not feel the same way about it, but it's just my favorite time of the day. And I feel like autumn is the twilight of all the seasons. It's the twilight of the year, and it's that moment of pause, of slowing down, but still enjoying things. It's not complete darkness and it's not complete light. It's just perfect. And I always love that about the season. I like that it's just the best middle point and the best moment of the year by far, for sure. And now there's so many inspired things about it, like I said, but one of the things that I love about it the most is that at least this month specifically of autumn, is the month of Halloween. And that in and of itself is very inspiring to me because I love all things spooky, I love all things scary, and I love the things that we get to do when it's Halloween. Not only the candy, because that's like, sure, yeah, that's cool, and not the parties necessarily, because let's face it, I made the Lonely Artist podcast, not the Sociable Butterfly podcast, so you might guess that I'm not a person who goes to parties very often, but I do enjoy the season because of all the things that we get to see, like the movies. I love rewatching scary films in Halloween. I love watching cartoons that I used to love when it was Halloween, when I was smaller. And even though I grew up in Mexico, and we do have our own celebration of the Day of the Dead, which is in November, where I grew up, there were a lot of North American people there, so we did always celebrate Halloween too. I never went trick-or-treating too much or anything like that because people are weird and scary, and I much rather get my candies from the store. But I did get to see a lot of shows regarding Halloween, and just all the time when it's the October in TV, we get to see like Halloween specials. And I remember very fondly watching Nightmare Before Christmas. There was this other one that I can never remember the name of it, but it's also from the director Henry Selick, and it's about a kid who gets trapped inside of a pumpkin. I wish I remember the name, but I'm not gonna look it up. So you have to look it up for me, you guys. But it's from the director Henry Selick, who also directed Nightmare Before Christmas. A lot of scary movies I like to watch in this time of year. I've never found The Exorcist to be scary at all, but it's quite enjoyable to watch, so I've watched that one a lot in this time of the year. I watch a lot of spooky criminal documentaries, and I've been hearing a lot of scary podcasts as well about just horrible things people have done, and just I think it's way scarier when it's real people as compared to when it's like paranormal things. And I've been listening to a lot of like criminal case detective things, and that has really spooked me, you guys. I've been listening to so many of those, and I have to walk my dog out at night, sometimes alone, and I'm always looking behind my shoulder, just expecting for a serial killer to come out of the woods. Although I know that's just so dumb and crazy, but I do sometimes get a little bit scared or paranoid from listening to so many scary stories. But that's the thrill of autumn and October specifically. Is just, I read somewhere that people no longer are exposed to threats that used to be very important back in the day when we were hunters and gatherers. And fear comes from survival, of course, and just our bodies and minds trying to keep us safe. And I read that since we no longer face fears from encountering a big animal or danger while we are out in nature, we seek that feeling of dread a little bit, but like controlled dread and fear from movies, from scary movies or scary stories, because it brings us back in touch with our primal survival fears and emotions, and in that way we get excited and it makes us feel a bit alive. That was the gist of what I read about why we like scary films. But it's true that they are also sometimes like really negative, and we have to be careful with watching too many negative things too, because whatever we watch in the end does affect us and designs us back. But while we can be designed in a negative way, we can also just enjoy a bit of spookiness. And yeah, that's why I really like Halloween at this time of the year. I get a lot of inspiration from scary things. I get a lot of inspiration from autumn and nature and the way people change in this season and they just become a little bit calm. I've also loved being able to experience, at least in Canada, watching animals prepare for hibernation and just collecting everything, and it must be really scary for them this time of year and not very inspiring because they have to survive the cold winter. But I guess for me, as a person who doesn't have to hibernate or worry about those things, it's pretty interesting. And I bet a lot of you guys also like the season. I found that a lot of artists love autumn as well, probably for different reasons, but yeah, it's like a collective love that we all have. Although I do wonder if somebody hates autumn. Maybe, probably, but hopefully not a lot of you guys. And talking about inspirations in autumn, I am planning on taking all those positive things that I love so much and applying them to my content for the month of October. I'll be posting only drawings of villains or scary characters from scary movies, or I'll be trying to draw some of my nightmares too and creepypastas for my Instagram. And also I'm going to keep the theme of spookiness and autumn for the channel, for this art channel as well. Well, if you guys are watching this on Spotify, not on Spotify, but on my YouTube channel, I'm definitely going to be making videos regarding Halloween and the Day of the Dead and autumn and all those things. So if you're into that and you haven't followed me on YouTube, you might as well, because it's gonna be a pretty fun month content wise. And in my Instagram, yeah, I'm going to be posting a lot of spookiness. I was going to participate in Inktober, but I don't think I am going to do that for my art account. I will most likely participate for Inktober on my personal account, but I won't be doing all the 31 days. I'll probably just do like, I don't know, 10 days or something like that. But yeah, if you guys are participating on Inktober, let me know. I know there's a lot of drama going on regarding that in the art community about somebody stealing somebody else's idea or book about Inktober or the lessons in it. I don't really get into a lot of those things with drama and YouTube just because it seems so unnecessary. If there was a real problem about like plagiarism, I do get the importance of it, and of course as an artist you never want somebody to steal your work from you, but I wouldn't go as far as to make a YouTube video and get people involved in it. Probably I would just go the legal way if I do have something to fight against or show for, in the sense of somebody stealing my work. But yeah, I don't think I guess personally I just wouldn't bring other people into the fight or the problem. I would just directly contact the person who stole my work and try and figure things out from there. But that's just me. Have you guys gotten into that drama, or is that like something very niche from the art community on YouTube? Probably yes. Yes. I also wanted to tell you guys that I am creating a new outro, or more to say, I recorded a new outro for my videos on my YouTube channel, and it's weird when I record voiceovers because sometimes I'm very excited to record a voiceover and my voice sounds really like hyper, and there's not a lot of pauses between the things that I say, and sometimes it's really slow and quiet and like, hi guys, how are you? And I never can really find a good middle spot for my recordings. It's always like hyperactive, sugar rush, or like stoned voice. And I'm not stoned while I record these things, but I have been told that I sound stoned sometimes. And yeah, so I recorded an outro for my videos because the last outro sounded a bit stoned, and I was just trying to find that nice little middle ground. And yeah, I have to make an animation for that because I really like when we get an outro and it's animated, because that's the only way I'll stick around for the end of videos. Hopefully people will stick around for the end of my videos with that new outro and animation. And I also made a recording for an ad that I will be adding to my videos, and it's just a self ad. Would you imagine that? I like promote my own stuff on my video. It's oh my god, I don't know if I'm gonna add that to the videos, just because I don't want to be annoying, but I do want to promote for people to go and look at my stuff and support me on Patreon, because I do want to make a living, right? But I also don't want to be one of those annoying people who is always promoting themselves, and it's a constant struggle for sure. But I hope that just one ad, I think like 30 seconds, won't annoy people too much. Hopefully not, but we'll see. If it does, I'll just take it down. But I wanted to share that with you guys, just because it's a little bit of like a behind the scenes of what I think about the things that I add to my videos. Even if you don't watch them, that's fine. It's just, I think it's funny that I have so many conflicting thoughts about some of the things that I add on my videos, because as a viewer myself, there are things that I always skip through on videos, and there are always things that annoy me, so I'm always trying not to do those things. But sometimes I find myself doing the things that annoy me as a viewer, and I'm just like, oh my god, why? Don't do those things. But yeah, I guess you do have to promote yourself because you want people to follow you and know that you are out there, not only on YouTube or Spotify, but in other social media. Do you guys hear that? I'm very sorry about that noise. That is my neighbor's baby rolling things on the ground, and they live upstairs, and that's the lovely sound I get to hear at 7 in the morning. So that is pretty annoying, and I'm sorry about that. But don't worry, we're almost nearing the end of this podcast, so you'll only be hearing this for a little bit, promise. The last subject I wanted to talk to you guys about is that I've been thinking about selling merchandise, but I haven't really landed on what I want to sell. And it's also conflicting because I don't support consumerism, and I like to support being environmentally aware. And while it's amazing to be able to sell products, the fact that you are creating products is also creating waste, and that bothers me a little bit. So I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to go about selling things on the internet. And if you guys have any idea, please let me know, because I would really benefit from knowing how to sell things in a way that's environmentally friendly but also really nice. I've thought about selling postcards with recycled paper. I've thought about selling prints too, but we'll have to see. I still have to figure out how I'm going to go about sending things, because I do travel when people can travel, although I'm not traveling right now, of course. I do travel a lot, and I don't know how I'm going to go about sending things. And then what if somebody wants to return something and I don't have a return address? And then because I travel from country to country, I'm gonna have to figure out like international shipping, which is an issue in and of itself. I'm sure it'll figure itself out, it'll sort itself out, but it's something that has been on my mind lately, and I wanted to share it with you. If you guys yourself sell things online, if you have any tips for me regarding that, do let me know how you go about it, how you go about international shipping, because that would be something that I would really benefit from learning more about. But it's been on my mind, and if you guys have always wanted to get something from me merchandise wise, well, you might be able to in the future very soon. And yeah, I promise this was not like me promoting my products or anything like that at the end. I just wanted to share it with you because it's been on my mind, and it's a good way for me to try and think about it when I talk about it. So that's why I'm talking about it basically. And don't worry, I won't be bothering you too much for the next podcasts, as I'll be interviewing more people, and that'll be way more fun than listening to me ramble for almost half an hour. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my podcast or listening to my podcast on Spotify. Whichever way you were consuming this, I'm very grateful. I do appreciate your time, and I do appreciate your attention to whatever I'm saying. Thank you so much, and I'll be seeing you very soon.